gentlemen, welcome to tonight's main event, the Eating Leather Podcast, sanctioned by the Sports Narrative Network. Let's meet the combatants. In this corner, weighing in at a svelte 300 pounds, Brian, the paper champ, Henning. And in this corner, weighing in at 195 pounds, your host and cruiserweight champion of the world, Dynamite, Darren Boy.
This pattern of light applause means it must be a time for another episode of the Eating Leather Podcast. My name is Jeff Bowers. I am the producer of this funny little thing, and we have an amazing guest that we are very honored to present to you. Next up on the Eating Leather Podcast, with a career record of 20 wins, 18 by way of knockout, 1 loss, and 2 draws, hailing originally from the great state of Oklahoma and proudly carrying on the legacy of his father, ladies and gentlemen, Kenzie TCB Morrison. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Absolutely. Complete with dog in the background. Man, this is where it's at. All right, Darren, take it away.
Well, Kenzie, it's such an honor to have you on the show. I used to fly around the country and see your dad fight, and it was like a rock and roll event. And we did a Tommy Morrison spectacular show a couple years ago with Al Bernstein, and it was our highest rated show by far. So I'm so happy you're able to set aside some time. In fact, we were going to come see you. We're based out of Dallas, October 29th, but the card kind of fell through. So hopefully we'll get up there to see you sometime in the near future then.
Yeah, most definitely, man. It was unfortunate. I actually went on down and attended that fight. It was a pretty decent show. Just unfortunately couldn't get matched.
Yeah, that's what Lou was telling me. They had several opponents in mind, and just everything fell through. But I'm sure we'll see you in the ring coming up in no time at all. You got to be in good shape still and ready to rock and roll.
No, I didn't take much time off.
Now, you're one thing our official process of the show, Giovanni Marquez, his dad is he's 7-0 with 5 KOs, and his dad was Raul Marquez, former champ, who's a good friend of our show as well. Now, coming off a name of a Morrison, which everybody knows that's been in boxing, how do you continue to live up to the legacy, yet at the same time make your own mark in the sport?
Well, it seems like at first, whenever I first started out, it was all kind of about the legacy, and it was all kind of about everybody kind of standing around watching to see how I was going to do. And, as time went by and the fights kind of stacked up, people started being interested watching me for me, and we're them being excited about me. And then the talks of, dad and the legacy slowly kind of just fading away and creating my own footprint, like you say, It took a while, but it came easy.
And coming on, good thing is that every fighter we've ever interviewed afterwards has never lost a fight, so you're in good hands. So coming off your first loss to Sims, what was your takeaways from that fight? Because I always tell my daughter, who's 17, you learn more from negativity than you ever do positive stuff.
Oh, definitely. That suffering my first loss there, I kind of had to go back and reevaluate things after I went through that first shock. I'd never really lost before, so I didn't know how I was going to handle that. It was rough on me. You ask yourself these questions, and then you go back and you reevaluate the fight, and you look at things you did well, things you did wrong, and it was just very much a motivator for me. And it kind of rubbed off some of the stubbornness that I guess I'd carried around for a long time that I had argued with people about.
Sounds like your dad.
It made me a little bit more open-eared, I guess.
Hey, Darren. I wanted to ask you about that because we've had several fighters on as well that, that when they take that first loss, it's something that really propels them forward, especially in the heavyweight ranks. The higher up you are, you get accustomed to just knocking somebody out, and when they take your best shot and keep standing there, now it turns into now it turns into the sport, right? Now it turns into boxing. It's not just two guys slugging each other. It's the science, the sweet science, right? And you learn so much from, like, I gotta learn to win rounds. I gotta learn to get these points. I gotta learn to do all the other stuff in boxing. One of our former favorite fighters, what's his name, Darren?
We've had so many. Bronco McCart?
No. The young kid that was our previous prospect. He was a puncher.
Oh, Berlanga?
Yeah, Edward Berlanga. Same kind of thing. Came up, was knocking people out, everybody in the first round, like absolutely destroying it, and then, over time, he's had to really learn, like, okay, now I have to learn to fight. Like, I got taken out to the deep end, and now I have to learn to fight. So is that where your focus is now, or are you more focused on figuring out, like, okay, maybe I did these things wrong?
Well, whenever we step back and looked at it, you can practice these things all day long in the gym. And I think where I have missed out a lot is some of the high-level sparring that you can get, because there's a lack of it here in the Midwest.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not in one of the hubs, or able to get down to Texas frequently, you tend to, not to miss out on some of that high-level sparring.
Right.
And I think that's where the focus is now. We're trying to get this first tune-up, knock some of the rust off, and then get into some of that deeper, grueling sparring in these bigger hubs with some of these, better fighters. So that way I can be tested there instead of in the ring. And that's just where I think I'm going to do a lot more of my learning, and where I'm going to elevate to the next level. Absolutely. Is in that more intense sparring.
Yeah, we've really seen, the Bud Crawford, really holding it down out of the Nebraska area, and our former co-host was big. He's big. He lives down the street from him, and that's kind of been that Nebraska area has really kind of turned into a real hub of fighters. We know a lot of people in this area, so that's kind of interesting to see. But you're right. I think outside of that, and then like the Houston area's got a great boxing scene, and that's where our buddy the Gio Marquez fights out of. You're right. It's kind of if you're not in New York and all that stuff, it's hard to find those. It's hard to find that. That's interesting. That's an interesting way to look at it.
Especially at the heavyweight level. At the heavyweight level, there's just you don't think about it a whole lot, but you don't have a whole lot of fighters from this area.
Yeah, no doubt.
Heavyweights.
And one thing I always want to know from fighters, because everybody assumes that you're a marketable heavyweight and you're making 6 figures or 7 figures a year for a fight, but you got family obligations and you haven't hit the big time money-wise yet. How are you able to juggle, doing the family obligations, getting your training in properly, and still having a little outside life to have a little bit of fun?
There's no outside life. A lot of it right now is, it's a lot of work and training and the family life, and that's all I have time for. And it's a lot of, until I get to a fight where I can step back and take a break and get notable and enough to catch some of these bigger sponsors. It's going to stay that way. Yeah. I feel like, and I fear. But I've got a lot of people. I got a truckload of people behind me, support, people that help me out with stuff and sponsorship that I do have, from friends and family. That's how we get by, man. And we got a close knit family, so it makes it easy.
That's great.
And you got a great promoter in Lou DeBella, who we love unconditionally. So he'll steer you in the right direction as well.
Oh, yeah, man. It's been a blessing to be able to partner with Lou and Tony, and it just makes all this stuff seem so much more real. There for a while I was bouncing around on my own, before I got with Joe Kelly, and then after that period, trying to make it happen on my own, and with them coming in, it's been a huge blessing.
Yeah, that's huge. It's huge on who and then being able to put on, the big performance. Obviously, the huge fight that you had against Hasim Rahman Jr. and the way that was promoted and just being a huge, title fight and all of that, like it really elevated your game. And then, then when you're at that level, staying at that level is so hard to do. And I know I've the utmost confidence. As Darren said, every fighter we've ever had on is undefeated in their next fight. So So, dude, line up somebody big. Go for Fury right now. Let's go. No, I'm just kidding. So I wanted to ask
Definitely
a
working
little bit.
on it, man.
Yeah, I want to ask a little bit, Kenzie, about your background. You were an amazing high school basketball player and had scholarship offers, and obviously decided to go down the different path. I wanted to ask a little bit about that decision, but then also, where'd you have scholarship offers? Are you still a big hoops fan? Do you shoot it around every once in a while? All that kind of stuff.
I definitely still play to stay in shape. Sometimes it mixes it up and gets you away from some of the just regular old running and conditioning stuff, but I also kind of have to be careful because I'm competitive and I still like to try to dunk the ball. And I don't want to get hurt and roll an ankle and then screw up my money train. But
yeah, no doubt.
Outside of high school, I was born and raised in a real small town. So I was a little bit country and wild, and I watched some of my older friends go to college and not come back so successful. And
Yep.
At the time, I just chose to go straight into the workforce and started making some money. It didn't take me long to figure out I didn't want to do that either. So that's where
that makes three
boxing,
of us.
that's where the boxing kind of came into play.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Do you watch? Or you have a favorite team? Are you Oklahoma City fan? Or are you?
I don't really watch a whole lot of NBA. I'm a Arkansas Razorbacks
There you
fan,
go.
and
Big
always an
city.
OU fan as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Darren?
Yep.
Now, as far as fighting styles, because I like to nerd out every now and then, you have a lot more unique style than your dad did. Your dad was always considered a gunslinger, and obviously he had the legendary left hook. You seem to have a lot more lateral movement, and you throw your very straight combinations, which is very impressive to me. How did you adapt to that style, or was that just something you were taught?
Well, it's something that I argue with my trainer about all the time. I tend to, I grew up watching my dad's highlights and watching the fights on the pay-per-view boxes and all that type of stuff. And whenever you do, I tend to emulate his style, or tried to when I was younger.
Right.
And then as I got into boxing, I started boxing as 196 pounds, fighting guys that were a lot bigger than me. So my trainers were more interested in my mobility, and they were always trying to get me to work off a long rangey jab, moving my feet. And, it's just something that I've always fought, but it's something that I'm good at until I get frustrated with it. And then I go right back to that kind of banging, brawling style where I'm getting wide on my shots and stuff like that. But ultimately what we're trying to do right now is really focus on that and, harness that for longer fights, more rounds, and being able to set up, some more of those sneaky knockout shots instead of just trying to throw every punch hard, because, that sometimes that just doesn't work. And that was kind of the problem in my last fight. I threw a lot of hard punches for, 8 rounds, and I didn't hit him very often.
Right.
I think it's just because I was so making things so big, and it was such an emotional effort that, it was easy for him to evade some of those punches. So we're trying to really tighten that up and look more professional and stay more, behind a technique and a form. So
now, your dad used the custom auto number system, which I was never a fan of, where the 7 was the jab and his cornermen were going 7, 7, 3, 5, 4, 2. Like the opponent's just going to stand there and let him hit you. Well, do you use a similar system, or just you just game plan for each individual fight?
No, my trainer actually has a list this long of boxing terminology stuff that we run through every day for 10 minutes, and it's just things that he calls out that mean stuff to us. And some of them have some crazy ass names, but for the most part, they've been burnt in my head for over 7 years, so I know what they mean, and other people are standing around, kind of confused, but I've made it work.
That's amazing.
It's like those signs in college football where they just throw up random, things that have nothing to do with anything, but only the team knows what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like peanut butter and jelly means left hook.
We'll keep that between us, and we don't give away your secrets.
That's amazing. So I wanted to ask a little bit about, well, first of all, who's that guy behind you? Who's the puppy dog there right behind your head there?
That is actually that is Tommy Morrison the dog.
Oh, that's amazing.
Greatness.
That is so
Yeah,
awesome.
I got him for my birthday about 3 years ago. It's a funny story. A buddy of mine had a bunch of dogs, and I went to his house and was giving him a hard time about having all these dogs in kennels. And I wound up going around letting them all out. And his mom and his dad tied up, and he said, "There you go, asshole. Now you get a puppy." And so that's how I wound up with him.
Oh, that is awesome.
Very fitting.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly
Well,
right.
just him being a boxer after, we got his ears trimmed and everything, it was only suitable for us to name him Tommy. And it started out Tommy Boy, but then whenever we had him registered as an emotional support dog so we could get into a house without having a pet deposit,
100%.
we had to give him a last name, and it wound up being Tommy Morrison.
Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing. I have done that.
This is why we
exact same
love
thing.
talking to fighters, because we get to learn stuff and just like we do a football show and all the athletes are very candid on what they say, but fighters will open up and tell you anything. That's why we love this.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead, I cut you off, buddy.
No, you're good. So speaking of your dad, when we did that special, and it was great. We had the great Al Bernstein on, and he was so complimentary of your dad. He said that he was doing the Rocky movie. He was such a hard worker. He was working on his lines. Like, he poured everything into it, just like he did as a fighter. He poured everything into the acting side. And he said he absolutely could have had a career in television. He could have been an actor. He could have done any of those things if he'd put his mind to it, because he just had that drive and that want to be great. And I see that in you as well. And like you just said, where it's about, there's not a whole lot of time for the other stuff. You're pouring through, this giant list of things, all this, throughout the day, and it's great to see, and I hope that you can keep that going, and that becomes something that, that if there's nothing else, that carrying on your dad's legacy, whether it's even the boxing or any of that stuff, but just knowing what kind of guy he was and how hard he worked, I thought was so great. And like I said, Al was so complimentary of his time on that set. Were you even around for that? Were you?
No. I was actually in 1990 when that movie was made. Was the year I was conceived.
Oh my gosh! Well, hardworking dad.
Well.
Look at that.
Alrighty then. Breaking news.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's been going on 33 years ago. It's been breaking news.
Oh, that's great. But I
had the pleasure of meeting Al a few times. He commentated on one of my fights, and I had a chance to visit with him before. And the fighter, he's getting all of his information from the fighters, and he gave me some of those same deals, stories there, and it was neat hearing them from him because, I was kind of starstruck seeing him for the first time.
Oh yeah, for sure. So were we. We're like, oh my gosh, that's Al Bernstein we're talking to. It's amazing. So. Darren?
Well, Jeff's going to have a business proposal for you in just a second. I think you'll find it very exciting. I know you've been posting on social media about a certain fighter that I respect his game that he's got to be able to make lots of money. Don't think him very much as a fighter, but it would set you up for a long time financially. Jeff, take it away.
All right, Kenzie. So I have been saying what Jake Paul's doing for the sport, I have respect for, right? I mean, he's bringing notoriety, he's bringing all this stuff. He's just not really a boxer. And so I've said that, hey, you give me 6 months with a trainer, I'm the same size as he is, let's go. I'd step in the ring, especially if I can get a nice $2 million payday out of it. But you are legit, and you've been calling him out on social media. Do you really want to fight with Jake Paul?
I mean, yeah, of course I do. To answer your question, this started a long time ago. After I was sitting in a deer blind and I was watching boxing, and I watched him knock out Nate Robinson.
Yep.
And from that moment on, man, his attitude and the way that he was running his mouth, and I know that it's promotion, and I know that everything he's doing is being done right, but there's something about the guy I just don't like.
Thank you.
I guess.
100%.
And then the fact that he, as small as the circle is, the fact that he knows me. he knows of me. I mean,
Yeah.
hell, some of the promoters were promoting with him. BJ Flores' trainer is good friends with my trainer. I mean, the circle was so small. My Calvin Henderson, my stablemate, flew to Dubai to spar with him.
Oh, wow.
To get him ready for one of his fights. So my trainer was in the same gym as him. So there's no way that he doesn't know. It's the fact that now he won't give me a time or day or, even acknowledge the fact.
Oh,
and that is fueling my fire, and it's driving me even more crazy. And it's something that I've pursued forever. And I would love to, but I just don't think I just don't think he would ever take the fight.
Well, I will say, so he's finally fighting an actual fighter for once. In his next bout, he's fighting a guy that's like 8-0. It's kind of a tomato can, of course, because he doesn't want to ruin his record. But like I said, we're gonna do it here from the Eating Leather podcast. We will start promoting you. We'll start tagging him in some stuff with your name on it and say, hey man, let's make this happen, because I know it would be an amazing fight, and I think obviously payday wouldn't hurt either. So you gotta feed that dog behind you. So yeah.
Trust me, I'm trying to float around the 215 mark so I could cut down to cruiser or I could stay heavy. I'm trying to stay ready.
That's the biggest issue.
Very smart.
He just now got to like 195. I think he's maybe 199. He's right at 200. So like I said, he's just now in my weight class, and so I'm like, all right, let's go. Because he's been fighting lower that, and I was like, man, I'd have to cut weight, and I'm an old man. I don't know if I can do that anymore. But yeah, I mean, if you're willing to do it and get down to that weight, man, dude, you would destroy him. I want this. I want this so bad. As you said, he's got a very punchable face. I'm in. Let's do this, Kenzie.
I've wanted it for a long time, and if you guys can help me make it happen, man, I'm on board.
All right, I'm sure Lou wouldn't mind either. So yeah. Sure, Lou would not mind.
I'll take them after the show. Make it happen.
All right, that sounds amazing. All right, so, what is actually next for you, Kenzie? What's the next fight lined up for you?
Man, right now I am looking at. It's not set in stone right now because there could be something come up before that. So we're not trying to make any press releases. But I'm looking to fight December 16th right here in Springdale, Arkansas.
Man, that'd be great.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, so we're trying to stay busy as we can and get this tune-up fight. I need to get back in the ring. And I need to get back active is really our number one goal. And then after that, Lou and Tony have got a plan that, and we're gonna make some moves, and I'm excited about it.
Well, and if
so we anticipate a huge 2024 for you.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
We've been trying to talk to Lou. He came and did a fight down here in Frisco with us, and he decided to do summertime in Texas, which Lou doesn't understand what summertime in the South looks like. So
he does.
He'll only do it once. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we're trying to push for him in the spring sometime. So man, if we can put you on that card and get you at the ballpark out there in Frisco or some venue like that, man, that would be absolutely amazing. Or at the Star, something like that. Come down here, get a little Cowboys, get a little Texas barbecue. It'd be all right, man. I think that'd be a great venue for you. And you'd have a ton of fans.
Heck yeah, man.
Absolutely.
I'm definitely interested. I just came back from Dallas about a month and a half ago. I was down in Dallas, and that was the first time I actually got to spend time in the city, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's I
wish we would have known each other then. We would have given you a tour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I actually went down there for for fallen veterans type deal, and I got to meet Forey J. Smith and Cole Hauser from the Yellowstone, and the guy that did the speaking was the Marine general that got famous for the speech to get up, make your bed.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. It gave me chills whenever he started talking.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, that live. Wow. And that's the thing is, like, the boxing scene here in Dallas is really doing well. Mayweather's putting his boxing gyms are in and around the area. Obviously, Errol Spence has brought a lot more to the area, and we're getting to know some of the local fighters, both female and male, and it's coming up. It's a good place to be, and I think it's one of those next big things. So it's not that far.
Yeah, it's not far.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You get some good sparring out there because Derek James, the trainer we've had on the show, and he's got Anthony Joshua training out of Dallas, not for this next fight, but he's been training him for a while now. So might be able to come down and get some good sparring with him.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I actually have heard that he comes down there. I thought it was at Houston or was it Dallas?
He's Dallas. It's kind of South Dallas.
Okay.
I forgot the name of the gym
I
they're out
heard
of.
he's been there for before his last 2 fights. He had come there for sparring.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, dude, that's amazing. So, all right, so we got you lined up. We'll call Lou. We'll put it in. Jake Paul coming up here very soon, and then after that, Anthony Joshua. Cool, we got it. We're ready. We got you lined up, bud.
Heck yeah, we're gonna have to see how things unfold on December 23rd because they have a hell of a heavyweight card that's going on in Saudi Arabia with Joshua, Wilder, Du Bois. It's just a loaded card. It's the most loaded card I've ever seen. So
the Fury Usyk fight was announced today.
Yep.
Before we let you go, I was going to ask what you thought of his last fight against Francis, and what do you think about Fury Usyk in February 17th?
Well, I think if Fury shows up like he did against Ngannou, Usyk's going to take him to school.
No doubt.
But I think that Fury took Ngannou a little light, thinking he was going to be your average MMA fighter, switch boxing and not have any leverage on his punches and, kind of be awkward. And I think he surprised him, because he's an athlete. And I think Ngannou took that serious. Who wouldn't with Mike Tyson in your corner, and in your training camp.
That's amazing.
So, I think that he kind of got surprised, but I think Fury is a smart man, and he's one of the greatest for a reason. And I'm sure he used that for a tune-up, and he's going to get in there and sharpen it up, and hopefully he can take Usyk to town because I'm a Fury guy. I mean, I don't know. I've been a fan of Fury for a long time.
Yeah. And I tell you what, would you take on Ngannou if he put it out there? Because,
yeah, definitely. I actually, before that fight, before they made that fight, when they announced that he had just started with the PFL, I started trying to get some buzz going about that because I thought it'd be cool to be his first transitioning fight. I'm just a little guy, though. No one listens to me, so I'm going to have to earn my spot before people start taking me serious.
We'll help you out with that.
You got a great attitude. No doubt about that. Lou promised you were amazing to interview, so you've exceeded our expectations.
Oh, man, I'm just trying. I'm sorry that I was so hard to get a hold of. Like I said, sometimes life gives you lemons, and I was busy squeezing them there for a while.
Hey, man, that's the way it goes. Well, hey, next time you're in Dallas, we'll get together. We'll have some barbecue. We'll have a beer. It'll be a good time. And, we will we'll definitely, like I said, we're going to try to promote you as much as we can. Man, like I said, nothing but the best. I think you're it's all right in front of you. And like I said, getting hooked up with Lou is a great way to go.
Yes, sir.
All right, Darren. Anything else?
Thanks again. It was a pleasure, and we will. As Jeff said, we were definitely going to do everything we can, talk crap to old Jake Paul and whoever you want us to, and make big things happen.
Stir up some shit, man.
All right, that sounds like a plan, brother. There's no better way to end an interview than that. The great Kenzie Morrison. Check him out, by the way, at KenzieWit1 on Twitter. We put a little bit of that up during the show. Find him on Instagram. Support this guy. He's gonna be great. He's going to carry on the legacy and obviously create his own path as well. So thank you, Kenzie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. We'll wrap that up there, and we will get this thing up and running. Let's pull myself up here. There we are. So, yes, the great Kenzie Morrison. Obviously, as we mentioned there briefly with Darren, we've got Fury Usyk being announced for February 17th. We've got a big card in December also in Dubai, as that's where the center of the boxing world is apparently. And we got a nice fight tonight with Shakur Stevenson, which should start here locally as we are recording here in Dallas, Texas. It is 8:30 p.m. As this show wraps up, and so in about an hour we'll have the Shakur Stevenson De Los Santos fight, which should be a lot of fun there on ESPN+. So, for the great Kenzie Morrison, for Darren Boyd, and for all of those who listened, and for the great Lou DiBella Productions. So yes, definitely go and check those guys out. And I am Jeff Bowers, and we will talk to you very soon here on the Eating Leather Podcast. Contact the show via Twitter at EatingLeatherPod, or find us at sportsnarrative.net, your home for sports talk greatness.